the 2nd of December 2025, WION held the third season of its flagship initiative, Mission Sustainability. No action, not an option, in New Delhi.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Namaskar. A very warm welcome to the third edition of WION Mission Sustainability Summit.
The on-ground event brought together visionaries, policymakers and innovators to address the most challenging environmental concerns of our times. The day-long program was focused on driving impactful discourses around climate resilience and sustainable development. A panel on Do Not Waste discussed how corporations are transforming the life cycle of their waste, from preventing waste at the source to rethinking what can be reduced, reused and recycled. Companies are redesigning their everyday operations. Paperless systems, in-house recycling units and procurement policies that support recycled materials are pushing industries toward a circular model. On this panel on Do Not Waste, we are joined by Sunil Pandey. Sunil Pandey is the Director, Circular Economy and Waste Management Division at TERI. He has more than 30 years of research experience in areas of industrial and hospital waste management, plastic waste management and waste-to-energy issues. Ripudaman Singh Bevli, the Plogman of India. Ripudaman Singh Bevli is an environmentalist on a mission to remove litter and plastic from our streets. Shannon B. Olson. Shannon is the director of the ECO Network. She is a scientist who focuses on the societal value of science and ensures sustainable ecosystems for future generations.
Waste is not just an environmental issue. It's a behavioral, economic, and systemic challenge. I want to get close to you and talk to you because this is about you. About us. Every minute, the world dumps a truckload of plastic into the oceans. By the year 2050, global waste could reach over, get this, 3.4 billion tons. 3.4 billion tons. Get counting. Today, we examine why people, cities, and industries continue to waste and what it truly takes to change your behavior, my behavior, your systems, my systems, and our mindsets. And my question to all of you is, what is the one truth about the global littering crisis that the world still does not understand? Ladies first.
Everything on this planet is from this planet, including us, okay? And our planet doesn't have waste. There is no such thing as waste. Everything that is used by every living organism on this planet is the source for another organism on this planet. The only thing that we have done as humans is we've converted things from the natural world into a way that they're not readily usable by a microorganism. So I think the first thing that people need to understand is there actually is no such thing as waste. It's a construct that our humanity has created for our own means, and that's why we're living beyond our planet's boundaries.
Dr. Sunil, do you agree with Dr. Olson?
Yes, more or less. Basically, what we call waste is something which has no use to person who is handling it. But maybe, as you said, it can be used by some other person in a meaningful way. So, yeah, I agree.
The Plogman.
If I have to ask everyone, who invented plastic?
Just by shouting. It's okay.
I mean, humans. I'm not asking for the real answer because it started from backlight. So who invented plastic? Who manufactures plastic? Who consumes plastic? Who uses and throws plastic? Every finger needs to point at themselves. So who's the villain? We are the villain. So who has to solve the problem? We have to solve the problem.
Talking about solving the problem, are we actually indeed solving the problem, or are we simply managing the consequences? Dr. Olson.
There actually are tons of people and organizations and individuals on this stage I'm lucky to be with right now who are actually working to address this problem. I think one of the issues that we face, and it's one of the reasons I founded the network, is because we aren't connected to those people. We don't know who they are. We don't have access to those solutions. I think that we're looking for solutions that are already in existence. They just may not be made in an accessible way and a profitable way, so that even businesses are not only obligated, and they don't see this as some burden on their profit margin, but they see this as a glorious opportunity for profitability in a more sustainable way through a circular system.
India has strong laws on waste and e-waste, yet there's one issue, and that is compliance, which remains very weak. What is the real bottleneck, Dr. Sunil?
One is inadequacy at the regulators level. Rules are there, and if rules were to do everything, then a problem would have been solved, because we have rules for almost everything. Compliance monitoring capability, and training the regulators, and also something which we have seen working in many countries is a responsible behavior by the user. So these I would point out as most important as per me.
Plogman.
Policies and frameworks, how much has that been implemented on the ground, and how much the real stakeholders, the people who will be most impacted by your policies, are they being included in your frameworks or not? I think that's the most important question that we need to ask as policymakers.
I still want to stay with you. Could you explain to us what the concept of plogging is, and who awarded you that title?
Sure. So it was about a decade ago. I'm a runner. I run in the mornings when there's no traffic and no people. The thing that I observed most was litter, trash, and plastic. And then I saw two kinds of people. One who would see the same litter, trash that I saw and then move on. Ignorance is bliss. And then the other kind of people who will see and then bash the government, bash everybody. Oh, India's so dirty, my country's so dirty, what do we do? And then those people will, after their training, sit in their car, throw a banana peel out or a plastic wrapper out. So I was like, let's not become either of these categories. Let's create another category which takes care of their own the waste as their own responsibility. And as I started doing this, people started joining me, kids started joining me, and I was like, this is so cool. People are loving it. So I literally tricked them to come for a workout and got them to clean up. And it became so popular that I ran around the country in 2019 after 2-3 years of doing this in pocket work. Like I ran 1,000 kilometers in 50 days, cleaning up the country. And then the Honorable Prime Minister heard of our work and he awarded us, kind of adopted our mission and gave me that title of Plogman of India. So that's how it happened.
Congratulations. Do you think it's a behavioral, cultural, or a failure of enforcement?
We're seeing this for generations, and I'll give you an example. I was in Ladakh, in this beautiful, serene place, 5,300 meters above sea level. I saw so much of trash. I started picking up, and that's when it hit me that the problem that we are facing is so huge, and that reminded me also of Gandhiji's fight 100 years ago. He had two primary fights during the Satyagraha movement. One was against the British for our freedom. We won that fight in 1947. The second fight was against our own people's unclean, unhygienic littering habits. 100 years down the line, we're still in the shackles of our own unclean habits. So I left my tech startup to pursue this full time. Well, it's been a decade, and we haven't moved the needle too much, but I've been at it for the last 10 odd years. And yes, user behavior is extremely important. And again, to cite an example, how when you mobilize communities versus not mobilizing, how that impacts. We adopted a school in Gurgaon. They had a local sabzi mandi, which is the local vegetable vendors. So every morning, in every week, we used to go to the local vendors and we used to talk about the ills of plastic. The children used to talk about ills of plastic, clean up around them. And within 3 or 4 months, which was about 10-15 drives, all the shopkeepers had big banners saying, "We don't have polythene bags, bring your own bag." There was no litter. They started composting as well. And the customers complied and they brought their own bags. So that's how communities work.
Congratulations. Behavior change is often treated as secondary in waste management. Should it actually be the first priority?
There's a behavioral change model called COM-B, okay, and it's one I particularly like. So COM-B stands for capability, opportunity, and motivation. And the idea is that unless a human or a community or even a country has all the capability of that behavioral change, the opportunities to change, and of course, finally, the motivation to change, that will not happen. And a lot of the efforts that we make are often on the level of capability. We do a lot of awareness drives, and that's important. There is a need for awareness, not necessarily that waste is a problem, but that there's solutions out there and that they need to get to that last mile, that the communities need to be aware that these solutions exist and demand of them. But the opportunity is often missed. We often miss the fact that the issue is not necessarily that people don't care about the waste problem. They do care about it. It's often that we don't make it an easier opportunity for them. So, for example, simple things like having waste bins nearby, or also improving the dignity of the waste pickers and making their jobs easier. That's very, very important. And we often put the blame on aspects of our society that actually are sustainable by design because they have to be, because that's the only way we live. And we don't put the onus on the other aspects of society that can choose. And we don't force them to make a choice. So accountability is also very important in this process. So there are a lot of organizations doing wonderful work in this way. There's an organization we work with, Borda, that does great work with waste pickers just by providing them a clean place to eat their lunch. They do their jobs more effectively, they're respected in their community, and the community members are picking up their trash because they now understand and because they see those waste pickers as people who are important in their community. And I think this is my call to everyone out in our audience today and listening, that demand better. Don't just complain.
It starts with you. The responsibility starts with you. Everything starts with you. Accountability starts with you. Dr. Sunil, what does science say about that? Because we always say, oh, blame it on science, blame it on this, blame it on God. But we are the image of God. So what does science say?
Very closely studying the system in Indore. It's one of the cities which has been known for winning the cleanest city campaign for 7-8 years now. So much so that it has become their habit. They said that most of the countries, most of the systems have something which we call IEC, which is awareness campaigns which are designed and many times you see celebrities and a lot of other people coming and telling us what to do and what not to do. They realize that if this is not resulting into behavior change, then there's something else is required to be done. So they kind of looked at the entire thing of awareness generation into how they can bring in the behavior change. And instead of IEC, they started calling it behavior change campaign. So they said that once we call it behavior change campaign, will be more targeted towards doing that. And then looking at tools and techniques, sometimes in common terms, carrot and stick, both. And we went to use carrots, went to use sticks, and it has resulted into behavior change. Now, often people see that when you land in Indore, and when you take a taxi, the driver at the start of journey tells you not to throw anything outside on the road from the car. So that's a kind of change that has happened.
When you talk about waste, the first thing that comes to your mind is recycling. I want to change that conversation from waste to energy production. How can we do it? How can India do it? How can the world do it? Dr. Olsen, what do you think?
We live on this planet, and this planet is a solar-powered planet, right? We are actually, all of the energy on this planet ultimately comes from the sun. I mean, the petroleum that making our plastics used to be a plant that got there because it used the sun. So I think that we have to take inspiration from how nature gets its energy. And I don't mean just solar energy, but that it also gets a lot of its energy from its use of other things that are already on this planet. The concept of circularity is just what nature does. And there's ways of getting energy from chemically, from utilizing other resources. That's kind of what when we burn fuel, right? But there's also other ways of getting energy from wind and from other sorts of renewable resources. We're taking the resources away from tomorrow in order to pay for today. And we don't need to do that. And I think this is really important. This is not something that is, oh, let's try this sometime in the future. We actually have the capability of doing this today, but it requires actually a systemic change. Look, crisis can be useful because humans don't do anything when we don't have a crisis, right? We only act in a crisis. So here we are, people. And what we can do right now is we can start to rethink how we're living, how we eat, how we wear clothes, how we move around in our societies, how our communities are structured. Every aspect of modern life actually needs to be rethought in a way that retains those planetary boundaries.
I come from Kenya. Kenya is home to waste textile. We have a market, a huge market that has been operational for years. It's called Gikomba Market. It's in the capital, Nairobi. But this is where Western waste goes to. Everyone is dependent on that Western waste. And I'm talking about second-hand clothing. As you can see from the Plogman, he's wearing something that has been recycled. You think it's important for the world, especially Asia and Africa, to stop being dependent on Western waste?
We have already built, I think, manufactured garments for the next 8 or 80 generations. I don't even know. Like the next few generations have already clothes made for them, but yet we are buying more. We are manufacturing more. I mean, does that even make sense? Waste from the West comes to the African shores, used to come very frequently to India as well. And it's a big economy. I mean, a lot of money was being paid for it. And the fact is that India gets singled out, or some of the global South gets singled out for our civic sense, lack of civic sense and littering habits. But unfortunately, the waste problem is there globally. I mean, we see the landfills on the fourth borders of India, but what we don't see is the Great Pacific Dump that the Western countries have created right in the Pacific Ocean, which is like probably the biggest dump on the planet, because it's far away from the civilization. So I think that's one thing that we all have to start talking about, whether the African countries, whether the Atacama Desert or the Great Pacific Dump, that no country is better. So people, or especially the West, stops preaching to the global South when the COP, which is the biggest conference on climate change, and trying to fight or phase out fossil fuels and plastic pollution gets sponsored by a Coca-Cola. Now, I am not against any brands or any governments or their policies. I want to work inclusively, and I've done that over the last 10 odd years. But it is very important that while we, all of us sitting here, try to change user behavior and citizen behavior, the governments, the lobbies need to stand up and say there are better ways of doing it, and we will go out there and try to find those better ways, because our planet will not sustain, our next generations will not sustain if we do not.
We are part of the problem. He said it. We are part of the problem, and that's why we are talking about the problem, trying to solve the problem, or try to see if we can have solutions, because we often talk about solutions, but what are these solutions? What are we doing to implement those solutions and make them workable? Dr. Sunil, moving away from that discussion about our responsibilities, the money factor, the economy. Circular economy is a powerful idea, but is it practical for a country with rapidly growing consumption? I'm talking about India.
Circular economy certainly, I mean, makes sense for a rapidly growing economy. And fortunately, we have started from a different baseline if you compare to developed economies which have already witnessed a lot of development. And here, if you talk to nation builders, if you talk to architects, if you talk to builders, they would say that half of the urban India is yet to be built. So that is where the opportunity lies, and also looking at the waste generated from these activities, how they can be brought back into production process or manufacturing process. Recycling, of course, is the end solution, where once we know that material can't be used back in the process, then obviously one looks at recycling. But then this is the time when this is the right time when the circular economy principle should be adopted.
I have a question here from one of our viewers. Says, we often hear that lifestyle change is important for the environment. Could you help us understand what small acts can we do as individuals and families without making life difficult? Dr. Olson.
We need to connect with others. So it's very important that you do not isolate yourself on your telephone and just stay on Instagram and surf, that you go outside of your door, find your neighbors, okay? Clean up your neighborhood. I bet you, I don't care where you are, your neighborhood needs cleaning, and you can clean it up. Okay? And the more you clean it up, the less it will get dirty again, because people like it being clean. That is the single most important behavioral change, because humans, we are social creatures. And let's not forget that. We thrive and we grow in communities. And I think we need to build those communities back. And when we build communities where everyone agrees to do something, clean up the lake, clean up their neighborhood, watch out for birds and insects. Please do that for my sake. Please pay attention to your biodiversity. I think that's how we will change this planet for the better.
Dr. Sunil?
It is tempting. It is tempting to basically become a consuming society, hyper-consuming society. But at some point of time, you need to realize that maybe you're consuming more and move towards being a frugal consumer.
One of the ads that I remember from the 90s, which became very popular, was, and it's in Hindi, most people will understand, ye dil mange more, right? So what does that tell you? That this heart wants more. That's the cool thing. So when this heart wants more, you'll buy more. But I say, ye dil not mange more is the new cool. So you don't want more. You try to reimagine everything that you have and try to work around it. And that's the typical middle class Indian thinking. If we go back 30, 40 years ago, that's what middle class Indians used to do. So if we switch back to that mindset, I think we'll be okay.
One final question to all of you. One word to describe India's waste future, Dr. Sunil.
We certainly need to basically work towards reducing and reducing not only our material consumption, but also reducing our waste generation. And that is where a circular economy becomes critical and crucial. And hopefully we are moving in the right direction.
This country has all the resources it needs. It has all the brains, all the money, all the natural resources, all the infrastructure it does to create a circular economy. This is not a myth. This is a possibility. If India can do this, anybody in the world can do it. So let India do this first, because I believe in this country.
Believe in this country, that's a powerful word. You should thank you and thank her.
But what's the most harmful, most dangerous waste on this planet? It's not plastic, it's none of the things that you think of. It's your organic waste. If we start composting our organic waste, then automatically a lot of the plastic, a lot of these materials will be able to go to their regular recycling channels. And plastic itself is an inert material. It becomes all these greenhouse gases and all of that because it goes into the landfills as mixed waste. And if we start composting it, I think that will be the first and foremost step that actually you and I can take to take that belief into real action and create possibilities for becoming not from the biggest plastic polluter to actually the biggest plastic recycler.
Waste is not a technical problem, it's a human problem, like you heard from all our panelists. And like every human challenge, it can be solved with leadership, innovation, and collective responsibility. Thank you to our panelists.